Hello, this is William from TLI. I'm going to be going through the process of materials making for those of you who are going to be helping us with that. And I'm going to try and keep it short and to the point, and hopefully coherent as well. So, what you're looking at right here is a template. We're not creating any finished products. What we're doing is providing content. We have a team of designers who are going to um, source photography and deal with the layout and the final aesthetics of the materials. And these materials are being made for an online teaching platform. So we're creating materials for all different levels for online learning. We need them to be we need them to be made en masse. We need a lot of them. We also need them to be coherent, to follow a similar format. So that's why we've created this format. So let me just take you through it, and then I'll give you some tips on how to make these so that it's quite time efficient for you, so it doesn't take too long. Yeah, it's not a hugely creative endeavor, but there is some room to add your own personal touch as well, especially in the discussion questions and maybe suggesting some activities. So first we have the title, yeah, and we'll clearly indicate the slide number in red font. And you can, when you make materials, you just use this template and you can delete this, for example, and plug in the title of your content right there. Very easy. And we'll talk about where to find that content and the topics in a little bit. Second, we have a preface, warm-up questions, and a lead-in activity. So the preface is basically one, maybe two sentences about the topic, a couple of warm-up questions to activate the learners, activate their schemata or their prior knowledge of the topic. Yes, get them thinking about it, find out what they know, what they don't know. And then a lead-in activity that relates to the reading that's to come. For example, as you can see, this unit is about sleep, getting enough sleep, and why that's important. So this lead-in activity is make a list of the top 5 things you think have a negative effect on sleep. And list the 5 helpful sleeping habits. Compare your list with your teacher or your classmates. And then read the article and see how your list compares. So an activity like this is really good for increasing students' interest in an article. They want to see, does their list compare with what the experts say, for instance. So it's a nice task to have pre-reading. And then we have our content. This is usually slides 4 through 7. I believe mine is slides 4 through 8, actually. This one I made today. Again, these can vary a bit. I might actually change this to 8 right now. But if it's 7, it depends on basically the length of the content. This particular set of materials, they're quite short. Yeah, for instance, this one only a couple of sentences. So, but I'm getting ahead of myself. So here's a slide, and the need for sleep. Yeah, this would be represented as a PowerPoint in the final product, and that PowerPoint would be used in an online teaching environment. But for here in our template, we just put the content, no images. The need for sleep. You can read the first sentence. Getting a good night of uninterrupted sleep is something many people struggle with. Okay. And I'll include this so that you can have this as a resource. I'm not going to read everything now and take up all your time. I'll draw your attention to 2 features. First is the vocabulary has been highlighted, put in bold, yes. And second, the language here is pretty simple. It's been adapted from an authentic material, an online article. And by adapted, I mean it's been graded or simplified a bit for the language learner. Maybe I didn't mention at the top, this unit is for a B2, you can see right here my arrow, a B2 level learner. And I'll go into the different levels later, but B2 is fairly advanced. Yeah, fairly advanced. So here's our content, and I'm going to show you now the original article where this is adapted from. Oops, if my computer can handle it. Nope, not trash. Okay. Here we go. And we're at eHow. Now, this is one of many websites we'll recommend for you to go to. Post lots of new articles, various topics, usually short texts. And this is the article down here. The original title is That Nightcap Ruining Your Sleep? Yes. And let's click on it. Okay. 11 healthy habits to improve your sleep. And the first slide of this online article, and here's the content right here amidst all the advertising. And let's read the first sentence. Getting a good night of uninterrupted slumber is a fantasy that eludes many, forcing them to find relief in over-the-counter or prescription medications. That's a fairly complex sentence, some difficult vocabulary items, and even a typo as well, interrupted sleep. No one wants interrupted sleep. So, as you can see, when I worked with this text, if my computer can manage without dying, when I worked with this text, not only did I correct the typo, I also simplified the language. Okay? And you'll be able to look at this on your own if you want to go into more detail, but pretty straightforward. We need to make this clear and manageable for language learners. Okay? Let's continue. So, slide 5, content, vocabulary. And I included some discussion questions as well. Yeah. This is about a daily routine. Slide 6, exercise, vocabulary, discussion questions. Okay? You imagine this would be one slide. Slide 7, content, vocabulary, discussion questions, or question. Again, you don't need to put too many discussion questions. I might have overdone it a bit here with 3 for each part, but it's good to offer some prompting for discussion. And slide 8, your environment, a bit of content, some vocabulary items, which I failed to put in bold. Glad I noticed that now while I'm making the tutorial. Let's see. And below that, I believe, oh no discussion questions. Hurrah. And optimum. It's always helpful to put the vocabulary items in bold to draw the learner's attention to them, which I forgot to do for a couple of these slides. That's what proofreading is for. Please proofread your work before you send it to me, because I certainly have a lot of editing to do. Okay, so after our content with our vocabulary highlighted and a few discussion questions, we move on to a section where you can be a little more creative if you'd like. You can provide some practice. This could be more discussion questions, more focused. This could be instructions for giving a short presentation. This could be a role play, right? A speaking task. Let's see. So my discussion, do you think the above advice is helpful for getting a good night's sleep? In addition to the ideas above, what are some suggestions for getting enough sleep? Some other suggestions. Compare your answer with the list below. So the learner would make a list. Hopefully this would be obscured from them, right, in the PowerPoint. They wouldn't see the whole list. This would be blocked. And they could make a list of some different ways of getting a good night's sleep. then the teacher could unveil this current list right here, and they could talk about how, what's the same, what's different in their lists. And all of these items are drawn from the original article, yes? Slide 10, speaking task. Basically, what do you think about this list? Any items you agree with, disagree with? Of these 11, which do you think is the most important? Yeah, just giving some prompts, what to talk about, ways of organizing it. Finally, at the end, put an assessment. This could be a quiz about the reading. This could be some fill in the blanks or matching. I just took the vocabulary. I made a quick gap fill with some new sentences and using the relevant vocabulary words. This really doesn't take much time to do at all. And then conclusion slide. Well, this is already pre-written for you. Just add the link of the article you used at the bottom. Okay, I'm going to save that. And we can go into a bit more detail here. For one thing, how did I find this article? I found this article using TLI's online materials development resource page. If you go to number 3, chapter 3 of this, there's some different websites suggested for finding relevant resources. Yeah, so one of those websites is eHow, and so that link took me to the eHow website, took me to this article, and from this article, I believe I selected four of the 12 parts of it. Yeah, and the other parts I summarized at the end in that speaking task with the 11 things listed. Yeah, so I chose 4 of these that I thought were interesting and relevant, and had some good vocabulary words. If I chose all of this text, I think it would be a bit too long. It wouldn't give students enough time to speak in class. They'd be doing too much reading, too much vocabulary study. So I prefer a bit more discussion. Okay, so you can see where I draw this from. Again, these were adapted, so I did not copy and paste. I basically took the article and changed the sentences to make it appropriate for the learners, for their level. Yeah, if a vocabulary item is really rare, not used very often, it's probably not very useful for them. For example, slumber isn't very useful. I changed that to sleep. There are some other words like that, and you're free to look at this article and compare with the materials I made from it in the template. Let's start at the beginning. We have understanding the CEFR. So the CEFR stands for the Common European Framework of Reference, and this is a way of basically telling what level a language learner is at. It starts at A1 and goes up to C2, which is considered mastery. Yes, and these levels are basically judged by if the language learner can perform certain can-do statements. For instance, A1 can introduce him or herself. Yes, can ask questions about personal details. Where are you from? What's your name? Can interact in a simple way, provided the other person talks slowly and clearly and is prepared to help. Yeah, so this is really not a complete beginner, but someone with a very small amount of experience in language learning, very limited vocabulary, can only do some very small functional things. Say hello, say goodbye, and talk about themselves a little bit, where they're from, things they like. Short, simple sentences. And it progresses from there, and you can read through this, and it'll tell you about the different levels. Something that very useful for language teachers, for material developers. Really gives us a coherent framework for understanding our students' levels. In addition to these can-do statements, there's also some resources which are based on corpus linguistics, large collections of words, and word frequency. And these tell us what level, A1 to C2, lexical items or vocabulary words are at. Here's a fluency map. And here's some websites for materials writing. This list will be growing. It has just begun. CEFR level check for vocabulary items. Yep, and we have two websites, English Profile and Learn English, I believe. Yes, Learn English. And this one is by the University of Cambridge. The first one, English Profile, and the second one is by the British Council. And I'll show you both of those and explain how you can use them when you're making materials. Yeah, these are free and very helpful resources. Let me take you to those right now. For example, you'll notice this is level B2. Yes, part of that is because it's in somewhat. Some of the language in this topic is a bit abstract. Not all of it, but some of it. Some of it's a bit complex, and some of the vocabulary items correlate to the B2 level. Now, it's not all going to be B2. You could have some C1, some A2. It's going to be a mix, but generally, the vocabulary can correlate to that level, and you can use these websites to check on that, to see if it's appropriate. This is the British Council website, which you'll be provided with, and you can just type the word in here and see what comes up. We have mean in here right now. Let's check out routine. Okay, so we have routine as an adjective, as a noun, as an adverb, and different levels that this generally correlates to. Again, this is giving you a general idea. It's not, an absolute. Some A1 learners might have come across this word before. That's perfectly fine. Okay, and English Profile as well. Sometimes this website won't have a word, so I'll look on the other website, for instance, or vice versa. And when I'm going to do this, I'm going to have all the levels selected, so I get an idea of where these words fit. Routine, let's see. And they also have routine listed as a B1 level. Yeah. If we click on this, it'll give you, I like this website better. It's more thorough, and it gives you a clear definition and some better examples. And it's really a good website. It's actually a fairly recent website. I think Cambridge University is working on a grammar website as well that correlates to these CEFR levels. So again, this is being improved all the time. Okay, and we have some examples. Good. So basically, to summarize, I took vocabulary words from these passages and checked them on those websites, and the routine is listed as a B1. Some of the other ones are B2. Some of them are C1. But overall, the average was about a B2, and so that's where I put the level, based on the topic, the sophistication of the sentences, and the level of the vocabulary. Okay. So yeah, you'll have a template. You have some resources that can help you to judge the level, such as these. And you'll also have, of course, guidance and assistance from me. I'm happy to edit and go through with you and help adjust things as need to be. So I think that's about going to conclude the current tutorial. My computer is really slow at the moment, and I've been rambling on for a while. So thanks a lot for listening. I hope that was clear, and you'll be provided with all these links and resources for making materials. I think you'll find that once you get used to the template and checking the vocabulary, you can really make the materials quite quickly, quite efficiently, and still have a bit of fun, creativity along the way in the process. So thanks a lot for listening. Bye-bye.